All right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is France Protests. Why is Paris always burning? Guys, there's a lot going on over there right now. I mean a lot, but all right, let's jump into it. Andrew Chang.
When an Algerian 17-year-old was shot and killed by French police, it triggered nearly a full week of violent rioting in the streets.
French cities, and especially Paris's suburbs, are again combustible.
Tens of thousands of officers were deployed daily. Cars and public buildings were set on fire. And this past weekend, what one mayor called an assassination attempt, a burning car slamming into his home.
Vincent Jeanbrun wasn't.
Oh yeah, bro, they tried to delete him. Absolutely. I think his wife got injured. I think his kid was in the house too. Yeah, it was crazy, guys. Just be fully aware. No one, I don't think anyone really likes the concept of rioting, guys. I absolutely dislike it. I strongly dislike it. I will never back the person rioting. Even if it is, for example, this one, the George Floyd one, the Boston Tea Party. Bro, I'm an equal opportunity disliker of riots, guys. But I do also understand that sometimes things will not change without you basically putting your foot down and saying, we're done with this. What's going on right now in Paris is the North African community, so they say the Algerian French citizens, right? They are absolutely going through it. They've been going through it. They have no representation at all. I get it. They are migrants to this country. The response from, let's say, the president at least, is probably going to be something like, they're not, assimilating to our culture, so we're going to completely ghettoize them, leave them in a ghetto, and really systematically stop them from doing everything around them. Guys, this protest really doesn't have much to do with the kid. The kid lost his life. Everyone is absolutely sad by it because no one wants to see someone so young, being taken off the map, guys. No one wants to see that. But there was a lot more going on behind the scenes that was just waiting to just basically explode. Every time I've been to Paris, I've just been like, okay, yeah, it's dirty. People are rude. The cops are not nice. Every time I've been, I don't know what's been going on, but there's been like military consistently, like machine guns in the airports, guys. It's, never really a really super pleasant experience, right? Like living in Spain, going to France pretty often, it's just like, it's so different across that border, guys. That border crossing is an interesting one. It's just so different. But yeah, France is like this, guys. That's just what it is.
Home, but his wife and kids were. She broke her leg escaping. One of the kids was also injured.
Oh, the kid got injured. Come on, guys.
Emmanuel Macron to cancel an official visit to Germany, holding a special security meeting at home instead. And now we're left with the question, why is Paris always burning?
Historically, that's just what they've been doing. But I know this really doesn't have much to do with anything historically or culturally, really, because the ones who are kind of leading this march are the North Africans. They're sick of it, bro.
What is it about?
But again, not saying that this is okay. It's not.
France in particular, that so often leads to this kind of mass mobilization that we saw this past week, that we saw earlier this year.
Hundreds of years ago.
Year after
right.
year after year.
Guys, sorry to stop again so quickly. I think I know what it is. Guys, every culture has been able to deal with people that are in their country, right? Very specifically, or new people that are entering into their culture that are slightly different to them, right? Like we've all been able to kind of sit down. Some of the sit downs were better than others, right? But some of them were kind of like odd, right? I'm gonna go ahead and point at the UK guys. Your conversation with different cultures are odd, guys. I'm just going to point that out. But France, they don't have that conversation, guys. Right? That conversation is not one that they've had. It's like they refuse to have it, while completely lacking any type of representation in the government for the people that honestly need the conversation to be had. So this was going to happen regardless. It didn't matter if it was 10 years ago like it did last time, bro. right? It's always going to be the same thing, guys. You have to sit down and have a conversation with what's going on here. Do the people that are coming in, do they need to kind of assimilate to the culture around you, around them? They should, bro. They really should. Okay, but it seems like they don't really have the opportunity. But then also at the same time, I know I know some people will be like, "Oh, why don't you go somewhere else? Go to your own country," type of thing. It's tricky.
And in France, there is more. There definitely is more of a culture of going out to demonstrate. For everything.
For everything, right? Right. They are known for this, bro.
So hang with me for a moment. I promise this history lesson will be really short.
Bro, make it long.
All you really need to understand is that France is a country where the idea of revolution is truly baked in. The French Revolution of 1789. It was a massive uprising against royal excess, mandatory tithing and taxes, rising costs, and which eventually led to the king's beheading, the only king of France ever to be executed. 40 years later, the July Revolution saw the overthrow of another king, King Charles X. And less than 20 years after that, King Charles's successor would himself face revolt. Even the French national anthem is a song of revolution. And a really violent one, too. Like,
right,
if
brutal.
you ever read the
bro, translate those lyrics, bro.
Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons. Marchons, marchons, qu'un sang impur abreuve nos sillons. Now that literally says, to arms, citizens, form your battalions. Let's march, may impure blood water our furrows. Like, I'm not even exactly sure what furrows are, but that sounds really intense.
It does.
It's not just about voting or being a political activist for some people, but having the possibility to demonstrate is really something that's quite fundamental.
The most destructive night of rioting France has seen in years left few cities untouched and hundreds of people under arrest.
So there's this great opening line of an article on Dazed on this very topic of French protest. Stagnant wages, smash up a bank. Elitist education policies, burn some cars. Complacent royal family, revolution. It really sums up what...
And guys, they are sick of Macron, bro. Like, he is entirely... I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on with the French-speaking country's rulers, bro. Like the Trudeau guy, the Macron guy talking about, oh, listen, all of this is going on. They're talking about it. They're making us look bad. Let's ban social media, bro. Are you serious? Are you joking, bro? They already don't like you. Relax.
Well, a country that never quite left 1789 behind. A history rich with insurrection and general strikes over a whole range of issues. So racism is a big one, with this long-standing undertone of frustration against police and their use of force.
Bro, I'm gonna let you guys know right now that France is not too far off from the United States of America in terms of just like ridiculousness, in terms of, you know, for a while, the French people couldn't even like make a case, if that makes any sense, right, against police officers for a while. Okay, hold on. In Spain, it's not too far. Okay, it's kind of the same in Spain, bro. But the problem is that they couldn't, like, if they had any complaints, they couldn't say anything. Right? So now imagine if someone is basically just lording over you, knowing you're in France, knowing the history of France. I wouldn't try to lord over these people, bro. I'm just gonna let you guys know. There's a certain type of ilk that kind of move into France, bro. They're not with that.
Is another, you know, everything to do with wages, the cost of living.
Right.
You might also remember this long series of pension reform protests from earlier this year.
This is all.
I'm gonna let you know, guys. I think that's probably also what's going on. The pension reform protest that was going on in France, guys. That's playing a big part in what's going on here still.
Because France's government and the president in particular is trying to make people work 2 more years than they do now to collect their pension.
Le Monde covered those protests extensively and did a really nice job putting this data together from March 7th.
That's a powder keg, guys.
Just one day where they tallied media estimates of how big that day's protests really were. Thousands of people in each of various cities. But then you add in police estimates, Each of these blue dots, depending on size, is around 10 to 20,000 people. Then you look at the union estimates, and you have some individual protests swelling into the hundreds of thousands. Altogether, well over 1 million people nationwide hitting the streets. I also remember several years ago, there was even a widespread strike, thousands of people strong in several major French cities, of taxi drivers upset about the arrival
The Uber?
of Uber.
Yeah.
Taxis in
Bro, that happened in Spain also. Yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah, they were like, bro, what are you doing here?
Paris are blocking access to the city's airports and train stations today, protesting against Uber.
They blocked roads, burned cars and tires, fights broke out, traffic slowed to an absolute
It didn't happen
halt.
like that in
They
Spain.
called Uber economic terrorism.
Our rules are strict. We buy our licenses and they cost a lot. We can't do what we want.
So in Canada, we tend to see strike action follow a failed negotiation. The recent federal workers' strike makes this point pretty well.
And we will remain on strike until the government addresses our key issues.
At its peak, we saw more than
Guys, I know, this is going to sound terrible, bro. I know zero about Canada. I know the president is a little awkward, right? But that's about it. So this, whatever, if you start talking about Canada, I'm not going to understand.
100,000 people
Basically.
on strike. But that was only after years of failed talks. In France, you often see strike action come before talks even start.
Right. It's to basically, to alter whatever is going to go on. So what they're saying here in France is, if you don't do what we want, more of this.
Years ago, when pension reforms were being proposed, there were large-scale protests before any laws even went into effect. It showed the government workers were angry.
Right.
And as a way of applying pressure, it did work to an extent. The government made certain concessions, changed the timeline of the law, even inserted some exemptions.
This is the way it usually works when it comes to striking and kind of strike
Okay.
action needing to be effective and needing to show that strike is actually going to matter.
So there's very much this flexing of union muscle, and the French public is very often largely on side. There's this movement called the Yellow Vests, which was a really broad movement about the high cost of living, social inequality, that sort of thing. Somewhat different than the Yellow Vests we see here in Canada. But a poll from a few years ago suggested almost 2/3 of French citizens either identified as a Yellow Vest, or if not, at least supported their fight.
There are a number of protests that have resulted in governments basically withdrawing the law or the law project that was protested against. And, it's happened in the past. Actually, it's happened to all.
Hey, listen, I don't see this as wrong, right? Like, if the people are literally telling you something, and I mean like the great majority of people are telling you something, and the government, which is literally just this elite group of people, obviously, right? They are saying, we're going to do this. But the people are like, no, bro, don't riot. You can protest, that's fine, right? But just keep it civil.
All recent presidents, François Mitterrand, Jacques Chirac, François Hollande, Nicolas Sarkozy, they've all had laws that they've had to withdraw.
People often wonder,
subtitles.
The French already seem to have it so good, right? A lower pension age, a lower inflation rate.
I would not say the French have it very good, guys.
Fewer working hours, than much of Europe. So why do they seem so aggrieved? Well, I suspect the French might think of it the other way around. The only reason they've got it so good is because they fought so hard for it.
Nous, on est retraités et on soutient tous les travailleurs qui vont avoir besoin de la retraite comme nous.
Parce que je veux une société où on soit tous, on vive bien. Et là, on est en train de faire que les gens
okay, there are subtitles. All right.
Survivent et ils se bouffent les uns les autres pour survivre.
We eat each other to survive. That's not the society I want.
If you ask for a lot, maybe you get a little.
Right.
But if you ask for a little, maybe you get nothing. It's called the radical flank effect, where the extreme wings of any protest movement, even if they don't get exactly what they're asking for, still end up affecting life for everyone downstream. For many in France, there is no badge of honor for suffering. Their social contract is as clear as it is cyclical. We work hard, the state agrees to support our well-being, and that's why we continue to work hard. But this prevailing sentiment de déclassement,
Bro, English.
this feeling that the current generation is being pushed down
Bro, what is this? Where's this guy from?
the ladder.
The name of the channel is CBC News. What is this?
Whether it's to do with wages, race, or anything in between. Many believe that will always be worth fighting against.
Okay, guys, I mean, listen, when it comes to this very specific thing, I don't think the France will ever kind of get over this until they literally have the ability for the elites, the royal party, let's say the royalty, to literally have a conversation with the quote unquote lesser beings, right? When that can happen, I think then France would actually see a gigantic change. But I don't really know if that's even a plausible thing there, guys. My experience with France and the people that are Algerians living in France and around Paris, the west side of Paris, right? They're going to say no, bro, right? There's too much. There's too much. They're not going to leave. They're French. What do you mean? Right? They're there. Do they need to honestly assimilate to the culture? At least a little bit? Yes. They do. They do, guys. Because I'm going to tell you right now, where I went that one time, I don't speak French, guys. Bon, you, something like that, guys. Right? Where I went there one time, right? The west side of Paris. And it did not feel like France. Almost no French was spoken like that, guys. Right? But join the culture, guys, a little bit, just a tad bit. All right, and maybe, just maybe, the president will be like, you know what, they're trying, guys, right? But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day and enjoy your day thoroughly.